I'm your host, Stephen Vanover, on the Sports Talk Line Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. This is NFL Draft Talk. We have Sports Talk Line NFL Draft expert Connor Livesay here to review the Washington Redskins 2019 NFL Draft. Good day, sir.
What's going on, guys? How are y'all?
It's always a pleasure to have you here, my man. You know that. Wow, we're here to review a draft, another NFC East team, if you will. And they had a pretty good draft, according to the pundits. And not only, is my understanding, not only are we going to hear from you today, we have also located, it was tough to do, we located a Washington Redskins fan. They've been very reclusive lately. The closest one we could find was in Scotland, and we understand that he's going to check in and give the Washington Redskins fan approach as well. But we're going to start with you, Connor.
Yeah, like you said, everyone who knows anything about the draft thinks the Redskins knocked it out of the park, and I think that's a really good opinion to have. Anytime you can land a franchise quarterback and a franchise edge rusher in the first round without giving up any picks in that draft, you got to be thrilled to death with that, and that's what the Redskins did. Their first pick with 15th overall, Dwayne Haskins fell right into their lap. They were hoping that was going to happen, and that's exactly what happened. Didn't have to trade up to get him.
Okay, wait a minute, Connor. If Dwayne Haskins is that good, then why didn't the Giants draft him at 6?
Well, I mean, we could go back every year and say, why didn't such and such trade up and take Baker Mayfield and whatever you're going to say, but there was there's questions with Dwayne Haskins. I didn't have him as a first round quarterback. He was a late second round quarterback for me. So there's definitely questions regarding his game, but when you get a guy with his size, his arm strength, his arm talent, there's a lot to like with Haskins. There's some questions about his pocket mobility, his pocket presence, but his arm talent's out there. His physical attributes are obviously, they speak for themselves. He's a big guy that can take some hits. He can rub off some hits. So he's got a lot of things to like about his game. He's got some developing to do, and Washington was a good place for him to land because there's some quarterbacks there, the Case Keenums, possibly Alex Smiths, Colt McCoys of the world. So he isn't pressed to start right away. So he can sit and learn if he needs to, but he can also play right away if he needs to as well.
Well, also, you mentioned 2 first-round draft picks, Montez Sweat. I mean, wow. You talk about getting something dropping into your lap, right?
Yeah, and he tested like an absolute freak. His stock rose as soon as his combine started, and then as it ended, there's some news that came out that he had a medical condition, a heart condition, that scared some teams off, and that's why he fell to the back end of the first round at the Senior Bowl. I talked to a few Titans scouts who thought that he would go in the top 5 after the Senior Bowl, and then the heart condition came out, and then he fell to the back end of the first, which, sucks for him, obviously, but then the Redskins get a steal, a guy who they're probably going to be able to plug and play right away as a pass rusher opposite Ryan Kerrigan, a Preston Smith replacement, as you'd like to say, and he's going to be a great pass rusher for them for years to come.
I mean, wow, how did that happen? Okay, well, actually, right now, Connor, we're gonna take a quick break, and since that is 2 first-round draft picks, we're going to get some input from an actual Washington Redskins fan. Now, unfortunately, the closest Washington Redskins fan we could find is from Scotland, and so we're going to have to deal with that. But I believe we have him here. This is Nate No Remorse Sports from Scotland, correct?
Aye, that is correct. I'm telling you one thing, if there's any criticism, it's unfounded. Dwayne Haskins' lymphoma is going to spread like a cancer all over the field, destroying defenses at their mercy. And then the other guy, the sweatshop that you were talking about, right? Monty Sweatshop is going to wreak havoc on opposing defenses across the field, crushing quarterbacks. It'd be a great job for the Brownskins. I mean, they're the Redskins.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. No Remorse. We appreciate that input on the first round. We're going to get back to you later in the draft, to pick up more. Thank you so much for your input.
You can't go wrong with either one of them. I'm still hammered from the night before, so hey, shut back with me soon.
We will do, sir. All right, well, Connor, there is your retort, or actually your follow-up. Would you agree or disagree with that, assessment?
All I got to say is that is sure. I can't really back that up. That was just great analysis and just I can't even back that up. I don't know what to say.
Okay, well, they didn't have a second-round pick, but they had a third-round pick. And so pick it up with that, sir.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin was one of my favorite wide receivers in this draft. Went a lot later than I would have taken him. I had him ranked as my 68th overall player in the draft class. So not too much later, but he went 76th overall. I would have taken him in the second round and been really happy. So their first three picks, I think they knocked out of the park. I think Terry McLaurin's a plug and play wide receiver, can play inside, can play outside. I think he's going to be a dynamic route runner. Has some hand questions to clean up. He can catch. He had some drops at Ohio State that kind of hurt his draft stock a little bit, but he absolutely tore up the Senior Bowl. And his tape was so much fun. He's an electric route runner. Can play, like I said, play inside and out, and I think that's where he's going to be used, as a guy who can come in, can come out. He can run routes in all three parts of the field, all three levels of the field, can get open consistently. And if he can clean up some of his hand question marks, I think he could be a really solid starting receiver in the NFL.
He's an exciting guy. I agree with you. I was shocked, not shocked, but surprised that he was available that late. But then they come back. Now, you talk about the first three, you're talking about knocking them out of the park. All right, round 4. Now, if you're going to have an awesome draft, you got to have it all the way through the middle rounds. What happened in round 4?
Well, I really love Bryce Love as well. I think, if the injury history wasn't there with him, he's got multiple knee injuries, multiple other injuries as well. So the injury history hasn't been kind to Bryce Love. He probably won't play at all in 2019. If he does, it'll be late. So he's probably a redshirt pick here. If he wasn't for the injury history, you're probably having to take him in the top 100. He went 112th overall, which was a little early because of those injury concerns. But without the injury concerns, you're talking about a top 5 back in this class, likely a guy who can catch the ball, can run the ball, can pass block. Those Stanford backs have a name for themselves. The Christian McCaffreys, the Bryce Loves of the world. They've been huge productive in Stanford's offensive scheme. So you love what you see with him when he is healthy. His ability to run inside out, vision, burst, everything is there. Catch the ball out of the backfield, pass blocking. Can kind of do it all as a 3-down back. But the injury history is long, it's deep, and it's nasty. That's why he went a little later than he probably should have. But I just didn't. I don't know. I didn't think they'd take a back that early. They have Adrian Peterson there. They drafted Darius Geis last year. They have Rob Kelly still there. So they have backs there. So I just don't see how Love's going to get on the field. So this might be a pick for the future. And if he's healthy, that's a good pick.
Well, I'm sure Adrian Peterson has no plans on giving up any carries that he can get. But that's not their only 4th-round pick, was it?
No, Wes Martin was their next pick, and he was probably and again, 4th round, adding to the offensive line, interior offensive line. In fact, at that, solid pick with Indiana guard Wes Martin, a guy who can play center, can play guard. He's got size, not a bad athlete for their position. This was just a pick in the mid-rounds. They probably liked him a little higher than I did. But as a team who struggled staying their offensive line, staying healthy, game in and game out for the last few years for the Redskins, they went ahead and took a guy that could play multiple positions on the interior for them. Had some good tape at Indiana. Wasn't quite as high on them as they were, but again, they really liked him, and they took him with their 4th-round pick. Then they backed it up in the 5th round. I don't know if you were going to go to our old Scotland buddy.
Well, of course, I was. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, all right. Another guy who I really like, Ross Pierschbacher out of Alabama, a center guy who can play guard as well. They went back-to-back interior offensive line there. I think that's 2 good picks for an offensive line who can never have enough talent, can never have enough health. They took 2 guys who could probably come in and play some depth snaps for them, probably compete a lot this offseason in the preseason and in training camp.
Well, and then also, let's stay in the 5th round before we flip back and hear the Redskins fan take on these middle round picks. Okay, so you have one more 5th-round pick there. I believe it was at linebacker, correct?
Yeah, Cole Holcomb, he's a smaller, undersized guy, probably going to play off the ball. Solid linebacker, nothing real special about him, but he's a guy who tackles well, he runs well, he covers well. So he's a guy that just does everything solid, doesn't stand out in any one area. He's undersized, that's why he's going to go later in the draft. Went actually a little bit earlier than I thought he would.
Special teams guy?
That's what you're going to get with him, a special teams guy who can probably play some linebacker for you in certain situations, can cover, can tackle. Just the size, that's probably going to be a learning curve for him coming in and playing these bigger offensive line, quicker offensive linemen. So he'll have to adjust a little bit in that aspect of it. But a guy who can play special teams, like you said, that's going to be his thing coming in. Is he's going to be a special teams ace. He can play some defensive snaps for you at linebacker as well if you need him to. And they may need him to, with Reuben Foster suffering a season-ending knee injury in the first week of OTA. So he could see the field a lot earlier than anticipated in year one.
All right. Well, that is an excellent take on the middle rounds there, Connor, before we actually get to, to the ending rounds. But let's flip back over and check with our Scottish Redskins fan correspondent, who's going to give us a fan's take on the middle rounds. And we're talking, rounds 4 and 5 here. So Mr. NFL No Remorse Sports Nate is going to now fill us in.
They had a guy with McLaurin, sounded very, very almost Scottish, Irish, so it's a little bit close nearby. Hall of Famer, 4th round, love the pick. Fuck Adrian Peterson, he's not one of us. I love the pick. And after that, they go double-decker fatman. When you don't have the fatman up front, you don't have a team. How are you going to have an army but no protection, no armor? That's what you have with the double-decker fatman in the middle rounds. And let me tell you something, Vanover and Connor. I would not like to use the bathroom after those men have used it. Double-decker trouble. Oh my goodness. And you want to talk about Reuben Foster's injury? We're talking another Hall of Famer drafted in the 6th round. You name it here. He will be in Compton, right?
Whatever you say, sir. Whatever you say. Again, we always appreciate the fan take. Always. We will be checking with you at the end to get your take on the draft overall, sir. Thank you for being here. But let's go back to Connor, if we may, for a moment. And actually, Connor, why don't we check out, because there's multiple picks in the 7th round. And are these throwaways, or did they actually do something?
No, I think they landed a starting wide receiver in Kelvin Harmon in the 6th round, and that's a head scratcher for me because he was I want to say I had him in the top 50 for sure. Let's see, I had him as my 30. How
was he available that late? I got to ask you, because I did not see him going that late.
People are worried about his speed, his route running ability, because he's a big, strong, kind of slower moving guy. But I don't know. I just don't understand how he falls that, unless he has an injury that we're not concerned, that we're not familiar with, or something's got to be there, because there's no way that a guy with his size, his ball skills,
his production,
and I think he's a solid route runner for a bigger X-style receiver. A lot of people compared him to a guy like Dez Bryant coming out, and I didn't hate that comparison because he's not a great separator, but he uses his size, his ball skills, his physical nature to go up and get the football. That's how he wins.
Who was the guy that played for the Giants that shot himself in the leg in New York in the nightclub?
Plaxico Burress.
Is he a Plaxico Burress style? Because Plaxico didn't separate from anybody.
I mean, I think he's a Dez Bryant style receiver, kind of. I don't know if his ceiling's as high as when Dez Bryant was in his prime, but I think that the later parts of Dez Bryant's career where he struggled separating, but he still could be a red zone guy, could still catch the post, the drags, and break some tackles. That's what Kelvin Harmon is, and I just can't believe he went that late. I thought for sure he'd go in the 2nd round at some point.
That's an exciting draft for the Washington Redskins. They picked that guy up in the 6th, but now they had 2 picks in the 7th. They're not done yet.
No, and then they grabbed a DB in Jimmy Moreland, a guy who's going to get you turnovers.
I love that pick.
He's going to take the ball away. He plays the ball so well. That's a really good pick. I'm not sure if he'll play this year. He's probably a practice squad candidate for this year. But I hear he's been playing great in OTAs. He's been making a ton of plays, getting turnovers. So he's making a name for himself in OTAs. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if he is able to come in and possibly see the field in year 1 and make a name for himself. He's a small school, undersized guy, but he plays the ball better than anyone in this draft class. And
from Jimmy Moreland University, right?
Yep, James Madison, Jimmy Moreland. That's what they say.
All right. I mean, he's a pet cat of mine, man. I really love that guy. I think he's a football player, and I think that he doesn't have the measurables. Okay, I get that. But he's a football player, so I mean, to me, he's going to have a career in the NFL.
Yeah, he should. He definitely should.
All right. So, overall, how do you view this draft for the Washington Redskins?
Well, they had another pick too, Jordan Brailford.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Sorry, they just keep going on. Oh my goodness, this is like a Patriots draft.
Yeah, Oklahoma State. He's a guy who, again, I think can play in the NFL. I think he's an outside linebacker, 3-4 style guy who can put his hand down. He can, play in 2-point stance. I like him as well. He's a late round guy. I had him in the late rounds, but a developmental pass rushing guy who can come in, can play in a 3-4 scheme. I think that was a perfect ending to their draft for them. A guy who probably won't play a ton year one, but he's a guy who can play special teams. He can offer a little bit off the edge. A solid late round draft pick who's got a chance to develop into a rotational player for them for years to come.
You have to have those guys, man, because you can't take those lower rung guys into their second contract. You got to let them go. So you have to replace them. That's what they got there, right?
Yep, correct.
That's an excellent draft all the way around. So, all right, how do you review this draft?
I mean, I think that it's as close to a grand slam as you can get. It's going to depend on how Dwayne Haskins pans out. But I think even if you take Dwayne Haskins out of it, say he never amounts to what you think of, getting what I think can be a dynamic pass rusher, a TJ Watt style pass rusher. I think that's kind of what you could kind of compare a Montez Sweat to, a guy who can bend, can move, might be a little undersized for a 4-3 end. So he's, a 3-4 defensive end. Washington moves their fronts around, plays a lot of different odd and even fronts. So he's going to be able to move around.
Versatility is huge with that.
Yep. Play left, play right in. He's gonna fill in well. I think Preston Smith, a guy who was solid for them for years. I think that's what you're gonna get in Montez Sweat, a guy who's gonna get you 6, 7, 8 sacks every year. He's gonna affect the quarterback. He's gonna play the run. I just think to be able to get that guy and also possibly get, I think there's a good chance that Dwayne Haskins will be their franchise future quarterback. I think that's just a home run draft for them. And then their mid to late round picks, the Terry McLaurins, the Kelvin Harmons, the Jimmy Morelands, the Ross Pierschbachers. I think those guys are they're gonna play for them. They're gonna start for them. They're gonna play rotational roles for them. I think they got 4, 5, 6 guys who are gonna be on their team for years to come. And I think that's a huge draft for a team who desperately needed that.
If Haskins hits, it's a home run draft, right?
Well, I think it's a home run draft without Haskins. I think if you add Haskins, it's a grand slam. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a home run without Haskins. You add Haskins. If Haskins hits, it's going to be a generational draft for them if Haskins hits.
Well, all right. That's the draft expert opinion. We're going to check in now and get the actual opinion of a fan, a Washington Redskins fan. Again, is in here from Scotland. So excuse me, Mr. No Remorse Sports, Nate, what is your take on the overall draft? And let's wrap it up quick here because, we got to bring this to a close.
Oh my goodness, I've never seen so many Hall of Famers in my life. Practice squad my ass, each and every one of them going to the Hall of Fame. Not even close, no discussion, no debate. Throw away your scouting reports. Get Daniel Snyder for dictator of the entire world. No Putin, no Trump. It is absolutely Snyder. Go to Six Flags. It is a blast.
Well, there you go. And I understand Daniel Snyder is going to be opening up a golf course in Scotland here just very shortly. You guys are going to be very happy with that. Okay. All right. And actually, Mr. No Remorse Sports, would you mind telling people before they go how they can find you on social media and stuff?
Yes. It'd be a wonderful time. You can find me on the Instagram, where I reportedly slide in DMs left and right that can't resist me at No Remorse Nate. And then you can find me on the Twitter, getting into an old-fashioned scuffle with Kevin Durant and his burner accounts at No Remorse Sports.
And Connor, of course, it's always a true pleasure to have you on here. And would you mind sharing with people where they can find you to actually find some knowledgeable information about the NFL draft?
Aye.
You can find me on Twitter at Connor NFL Draft, and I don't know how much knowledge you'll be getting, but we'll talk plenty of NFL draft, plenty of NFL football. So follow me on Twitter for all things NFL and NFL draft, college football. You'll find it there.
All right, and for everyone out there, thank you so much time for being here with us. We really appreciate it. On YouTube, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit that little bell for that notify. Give us that retweet. Give us that like on whichever platform you are. We love those hearts. Thank us. It helps us to bring things to you. And as you can tell, it's a lot of fun for us here. So until next time, listen like you play with intensity.